What up guys, it's your boy raptak, and today Shatterline has released the patch R67, which most notably they will be experimenting with 5v5 over the 6v6 game modes. We'll talk about that as well as the other major changes that have come with this update. I've gotten my hands on this update through the PTS servers, and even though the queue took a good 27 minutes to start, the gameplay you're seeing in the background is a PvP match that I played in the PTS server. And this update's scheduled to be released later on this week according to the developers, so stay tuned for that. Starting off, we've gotten the first Halloween themed event in Shatterline, and with this event they've added the new game mode called Pumpkin Mode. Well, they call it game mode in the release notes, but in game they're referring to it as an in-game modifier, which I tried to play this modifier to find out what it was about. But since every queue I went through only gave me demolition, I was not able to see what this modifier was all about, since apparently this modifier only works in Team Deathmatch and Conquest game modes. And in the PTS servers, you can't choose what type of game mode you want to play, so sadly I was not able to get that video for you guys. And since those queues were taking a good 30 minutes or so for each one of the queue to pop, I gave up after 3 attempts. You know, it took me about 2 hours to be able to get 3 games in, and it just doesn't fit my schedule. So sadly, I was not able to find a game with the Halloween modifier, so I can't show it to you guys. However, they have released Halloween tasks, which once completed you will be rewarded with Halloween themed skins and trinkets. So make sure you get these tasks before the Halloween is over, because I imagine they are directly tied to this event and won't be achievable through other means once the Halloween's over. Also, I must add they've added many different types of events, which I'm very excited to try out. But right now I have not been able to find queues for them, so I'm excited to see how they will play out. For Expedition Mode, they've added a new encounter called Phantom Core. They've also added 3 new perks: Kinetic Armor, Blast Armor, and CQB Armor, which stands for Close Quarters Combat Armor. Blast Armor increases your resistance from explosions. Kinetic Armor increases your resistance from bullets and other projectiles. And Close Quarters Combat Armor increases your resistance to melee attacks, or melee attacks, however you call it. They've also optimized the map, made it smoother, essentially. They fixed some bugs, and they increased the rarity for both the Strife and the Feedback Loop perks. Also, they've implemented a new short episode called Sunken Lab, as well as a new event called Hardcore PTB, which I'm not exactly sure what it is yet. For the store, they've enabled the purchase of season levels for those players who struggle to catch up in levels and just want to accelerate their own progress. Personally, I won't touch this, but it's a decent way for developers to rack up some cash for development of this game, so I have nothing against that. Now onto the most important part of the release notes, the game balance changes. Starting off with the most important part of this update, the experimental change from 6v6 to 5v5. I won't go into too many in-depth details as to why I think this is an amazing change, one I definitely welcome into this game. Instead, I'll be making a video specifically on this change, so stay tuned for that. But just know this, I think this change is amazing. I do believe that it adds a lot to this game, and I do believe that it'll make it much more competitive on the long run, which essentially is pretty important for the game's future. So I do think this is a very good change. Moving on, the Orbis drone has gotten some changes, but as I played the PvP matches, I didn't quite notice anything considerable. So we'll be moving on to the weapon changes. We've gotten a much needed buff for the XM40 Conciliator. They've increased its headshot damage, which is a very good change because this weapon was underperforming by a lot. They've also nerfed both revolvers' accuracy, or in other words, the tier 2 and the tier 5 sidearm. I don't necessarily agree with the change, but anyways. Also, they've nerfed the overpowered Cowboy Reflex legendary mod for the tier 2 sidearm. Now this was a very well deserved nerf, as this modification was quite overpowered. And last but not least, they've moved Pill's abilities around. Now the Quantum Nullifier ability shares a slot with the stasis field grenade rather than the medbot, which is a welcome change because changing out the medbot for the quantum nullifier ability would be a very dumb decision for anyone to make. But now that it shares a slot with the stasis field, it might be very worth the change. And that's all for today, guys. Give your boy a sub if you want to see more Shatterline content, and that'll be it. Peace out.